Some stories don't need fame or headlines to matter. They live quietly in the space between struggle and purpose. They live in people like Mark Watson. Mark's journey began, like many of ours, chasing success, climbing the ladder, and measuring life in promotions and paychecks. He made it all the way to the top of the corporate world. But life has a way of humbling us: a fall, an addiction, an open heart surgery, and eventually the loss of his leg. Each one stripped away what he had and revealed who he was. Today, Mark's not selling products, he's giving people hope. Working with those facing addictions, disability, and mental health challenges, he's finding his calling on the other side of pain. Get ready for the ordinary that became extraordinary. I'm Rick Bontkowski, and this is the AMP'D UP211 Podcast. Hey everyone, it's my pleasure to have with us today Mr. Mark Watson, otherwise known as Mr. Mark Stephen Watson, if you know him from social media. He is with us today, and he's been very generous to offer his time. I'll give you a little history on me and Mark. Me and Mark are, I guess, what you'd call kind of like Facebook friends. Would that be accurate? And, I came to know Mark through some, I guess, direct messages that we've exchanged. And to be quite honest, Mark is one of those people that, in terms of his journey as an amputee and what he does in his particular space, his particular orbit, the guy's just extraordinary. He has an incredibly interesting story. He's one of the ordinary that are extraordinary, I always say. And we relate on a multitude of topics, whether we're talking about music, whether we're talking about business, whether we're talking about falling down, which amputees do. We've been able to connect on so many levels. I consider Mark a great friend and someone that continues to enrich my personal journey as an amputee. And Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It's a true honor, really, really an honor and privilege to be a part of this podcast. And thank you for the kind words too. You're a great friend. You inspire me on a daily basis. And I'm just, like I said, I'm honored and privileged. And if anything that I say today, sharing anything that you want to talk about, anything that I can do to help the 2 million. There's 2 million amputees in this country. There's 300 to 500 amputations per day, 114 per hour. Just think about that. People are losing their limb like this. And if anything I say today resonates with one of those 2 million or the 400 and some globally, 400 million, then my work will be done here. And thank you for the kind words, sir.
No, it's my pleasure to have you here. And you're one of those people that I would say is incredibly important to this community because you're so relatable. And very often, and I'm just being honest here, we do interview guests that at times can be somewhat difficult to relate to because they're operating in elevated spaces or, sort of having a completely different type of experience as an amputee. When I think about the masses of us, the huddled masses, the injured masses of us, we need to be connected to people like yourself, people that have similar life experience, have gone through some similar struggles, and just continue to keep trying, keep going, keep forging ahead and trying to live out our normal lives in the limb loss community. And I want to jump into your story a little bit and talk a little bit more about your humble beginnings and what you were going through as a young man. And let me sort of phrase it this way. If you were going to compare what was important to you as a young man, if you were to make that short list of 2 or 3 things as a young man and say, these things were very important to me, and conversely discuss right now what are those 2 or 3 things that are very important to me? How would you go about describing those 2 different worlds, those 2 different marks?
Humble beginnings. You're correct with what you said there. I come from West Virginia, a place called Kings Creek, named after George Washington, our first president, who navigated with a group of other explorers down the creek into the mouth of the Ohio River. So I grew up in the hills and the valleys, the plush mountains of West Virginia, where there are creeks and streams and lakes. We built cabins as kids. We played cowboys and Indians in the woods. We hiked. Who does that today? What kids do that today? For real. What kids do that today? I don't
Not
think any,
many.
really.
Not
Not many.
many.
They have a screen attached to them, to their hand, and but anyway. But it's funny how life works, because sometimes it comes full circle. Because as a young man, especially our household, I grew up with 5 siblings. My father was a steel worker. He was the supervisor of a steel plant. My mother, the homemaker, raising 5 kids. Sports and music were always prevalent in our house. I remember you were saying that you're an immigrant from Poland, right? Your father
My
was a
father.
cabinet maker, right?
Yep.
And I was thinking the other day, how cool is that? Because you could probably relate to this. The first instrument I ever took lessons on was actually a Polish influenced instrument, the accordion.
I was
The
going to
accordion.
say,
And Bobby
were you
Vinton
an
from
accordion
Pittsburgh.
player?
Yeah. Can
That's
you
great.
believe that?
That's
I
great.
mean, an accordion of all things.
That's a tricky
But
instrument, by the way.
yeah, yes. But the beer barrel polka, all the polkas of Bobby Vinton,
Yeah.
right up the road from where I grew up and was born and raised, that he created. Great, great songs. But anyway, so sports and music were always prevalent in the household. I played organized sports when I was young. Played baseball, football. I played football all the way to my senior year in high school. Um, the music, as I said, my brothers and I, we were always either playing sports together with the neighborhood kids or creating and listening to music. I remember playing records out on the carport, 45s, for all the kids in the neighborhood, like I was the local DJ. Or you mentioned drums. I got to talk about the drums. My brother was in the high school band, and there's always a pair of drumsticks around the house, and so I would take the drumsticks and I'd go into my mom and dad's bedroom, my mother and father's, and get on their big old bed and set up pillows as if I was John Bonham or somebody,
That's how it
or
starts.
yeah, yeah. And then, but I would look at the books on the shelves that she had with the titles, and I'd create these songs. This is a 10, 11, 12. I just make up songs. Or I get an album from a band that I didn't care for, not like Jay and the Americans.
Oh boy.
I don't remember them. Jay and the Americans, I put it down and I would make up these songs. But anyway, my goals and aspirations then were after I left or graduated from high school, I attended WVU, West Virginia University, and my aspirations as a young man, I wanted to be a teacher, a coach, and special ed was a minor of mine, and education was a major. But I jokingly say, because it was a great experience, don't get me wrong. West Virginia University was a great experience, a great cultural experience. Met people from all over the country, all over the world. Uh, a great social experience, definitely a great social experience. But I jokingly say that that's where I got my degree in chemical engineering, because it's then when I started dabbling and trying different chemicals to numb whatever was going on inside me, which I'm not really sure what was going on inside me, but I mean, I liked drinking, but drinking didn't do it for me. Then, God, I smoked a lot of weed, a lot of marijuana back in that day, and it showed in my grades because my grades were poor. I hardly studied. I was put on academic probation first year. Then I regained focus and went to a smaller school after 2 years at WVU called West Liberty State, where I spent 3 semesters, got my grades up. However, the whole experience was great. I'm a college dropout, but like I said, I had great classes. I learned a lot: anatomy and physiology, kinesiology, English composition and writing, different things like that. But I, like I say, jokingly say the chemical engineering thing. But I still wanted to coach and teach, and that was what I wanted to do. And
So it sounds like coaching and teaching was, given your upbringing, being a passionate kid, being active, organized sports, having a love of music, but then saying, okay, I really want to coach and teach. This is something that's really important to me. And certainly those addictions, those behavioral dysfunctions that we, fall into. These are the trappings of being young. And to be honest, I've been there myself, immature, and not really having sort of the guardrails or the governing systems in our minds to go, wait a minute, like this is not sustainable. This is not going to help me in my long game. But then I look at you now, and so much of what you do as an advocate, and in terms of the way in which you teach now, in the spaces that you're in now, um, don't you think that there's some parallels there, that you're in a lot of ways you're doing that now? I feel.
you're right, and that's why I was talking about the full circle thing, because like that was my aspirations as a young man,
Yeah.
and then they change. Your goals change sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
There's your priorities change, and but back to, like I said, full circle. I wanted to help, guide, direct, teach, lead, administer, minister to the special needs community, those who are less fortunate, those who are downtrodden, broken, bent, you know, definitely less than what that I was at the time. And now I became one. I became a partially disabled human, and now I'm working in the field helping special needs, those with developmentally disabled, those that are developmentally disabled, and those that are intellectually disabled, autistic, the deaf, dumb, and blind. And so, to me, at this point in my life, you're talking about how the life is funny. There's so many chapters in life, and we go through different phases. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. The best thing to do, though, is to learn from your mistakes. Obviously, we all fall down, like you say. I learned from a young age. Even if you fall down, you get back up. You dust yourself off, pull your boots up, and you get back up and you keep moving. So, despite the disability, I didn't let it. I've had people say to me, "Well, you can't let being an amputee define you." Define means finding the meaning of something, right? I mean, define you want to look for the meaning of something. So I lost my leg. You know what? It defined many things for me. Maybe it does define me because it defined my inner strength, my perseverance, um, my how I can endure. It taught me many things about myself. Yeah, and it's funny how the amputee life almost mirrors regular life. who as human beings can say, well, I lived as a fully able human being for half my life, and the other half of my life, I've lived a life of disability. So I know that both worlds, and but I've tried to navigate it to where I keep moving forward. I try to contribute to life, contribute to humanity,
Yeah. No,
give back.
these are powerful words, and I appreciate you, sort of highlighting that idea of full circle. And you've done that in many ways because you know, life's path is it's a winding road. There are many curves, and where we end up um, is very much a definition of who we are, despite the battles, the setbacks, and all of those things. And the other thing I wanted to mention, just to sort of echo, when you were talking about, how it defined you, and then you sort of listed the ways in which it defined you, because I tend to believe for myself, I think we need to decide what this situation is going to give us, how it's going to shape us, how it is going to change us. We have to own that. And what we use it for is really a very, very personal decision. And it's not the same for everybody, because one might say, well, I don't consider myself disabled because this, and this. And that's okay. If if that's the sum results of how you manage yourself emotionally, spiritually, great. Whereas someone might say, no, this idea, this loss, okay, this change that I've gone through, it formulates every decision that I make. It is part of the calculus of my life. It's always there. And very often for people, it's the common denominator. It doesn't go away.
Oh, right, right,
And
sure.
when we started talking, I was very much, impressed by your passion, your your ability to communicate what you were going through, and sort of your perspective in its uniqueness as far as your own experiences and what you felt were things that were worth pursuing, things that were worth letting go. Um, but I do believe that it's very, very personal for everyone, because I do talk to amputees, let's say post-op, or they're very early in the process, and they're seeking answers. And I tell them it's different for everyone. It truly is. It's a different experience. It's a unique experience, just like you mentioned, just like life itself. No one lives the same life, and no amputee lives the same life, because there are so many outside forces, so many things that happen along that path that maybe we expect. But man, there's a shit ton of stuff that we do not expect. And
Sure.
we're continually surprised when they just show up. And if you don't mind, I'll make mention of your recent fall. And we had a conversation, and we were sort of jamming on what it's like to fall as an amputee. And okay, yeah, that's happened to me. Oh, it's happened to you. Yeah, it's happened to me too. And we're sort of walking through that, right? We're sort of unpacking it and saying, yeah, like I don't know, I've gone for so long, and then I fell, and I was kind of like what the hell, like I'm falling now, like what's that all about? And am I at a different phase of this, or like what's going on? And that is the life right there. And for you to be transparent and vulnerable, and to be able to say, yeah, I'm kind of questioning, like, okay, where am I at right now? You know? And don't you feel like there are those surprises where you're just kind of cruising along, And I've gone up and down this flight of stairs 8,000 times without issue. I have all the muscle memory to do it. And then there's that one day where I just, you know what I mean? Like what? Like what just happened?
Yeah, I mean, I've been an amputee 14 years, above the knee, left above the knee amputee, and I can count, and I can remember every single fall that I've had in that 14-year span. And it is part of the deal. It's part of being an amputee. You're learning to walk on different surfaces. You're learning the give and take of your microprocessor knee. Well, at least I am. And the ankle and the foot motion and getting used to the socket and the fit. Most falls of mine have been easy peasy. Whether it be out, I like to garden, whether it be out in the grass. I've fallen out in the yard mowing. I hit the grass, the turf, laugh in the sunshine. As Wet Willie sang. What did Wet Willie sing? Keep on smiling. Smile through the rain, laugh through the pain.
Yeah.
We do a lot of that. And so, but these last two, I have some cervical and lumbar issues going on in my back and spinal. It's causing my right leg, my good leg, to be weak. It's affecting the whole leg, actually. So it's hard to push off, very difficult to push off. And as you know, as a left above the knee amputee, I need every single limb that I have. I need this one, I need this one, and I need my right leg. And if I don't have that, all bets are off.
Yeah, that's my anchor.
I know we have all these walking devices and wheelchairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I do not want to be, I'm not one of those who wants to be sitting in a wheelchair with a sedentary lifestyle all of my life. So I'm trying to address these issues. But yeah, it is part of the deal. It surely sparks up and amps up and pun intended,
yes,
amps up the what I'm trying to say. It amps up the what were we just talking about? Gosh, see, that's that gabapentin, short-term memory. Short-term memory, seriously. Short-term memory loss, swear to God. I was just sharing this with my doctor the other day.
I feel like those events, for me, they will completely sort of like put into focus that I'm an amputee. Because
amped up my PTSD. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So it amped up my PTSD.
PTSD. Okay. So when I have an event that is out of the norm, okay, whether that's a fall, whether that's some kind of skin issue, whether I'm suddenly managing, crippling phantom pain, those are the reminders of my condition. Those are the things that speak to me and say, this is real. This is something that you're dealing with. And you need to stay focused on your self-care, your self-love, and you need to keep on the path. Don't let this push you down, push you away, and seek help, whether that's emotional help, whether that's, revisiting my prosthetist, whether that's going to my doctor. If there's something that can give me clarity in this situation, I want to make sure that I'm loving myself enough that I'm being the best version of me in this moment. Even if I'm broken right now, I still want to say, okay, I'm doing everything that I can. I'm not giving up. And I'm seeking out my connections, people like yourself, to say, hey, I'm kind of going through this thing right now and I'm managing it, but it's been tough. It's been rough. I'm going day by day right now. And that's okay, because that's the thing that probably unifies us the most, is that struggle. We can all, we can all enjoy the good times, and good times are easy to get through. But when the dark clouds sweep in, I think that's when we're truly tested in terms of our character, our true character. The thing I wanted to ask you too, because you aren't above the knee. What was the thing that you would say surprised you most when you first started donning a prosthesis, where you were just like, "Oh, I never thought it was going to feel like this"?
I remember the very first time I was in a practice leg and walking down the rails. It was the first time, I had my test socket, test leg, and how foreign it felt, how different it felt, how terrible at the time it really felt to me. And I wanted to take it off and throw it up against the wall, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a process too. Um, but the thing that I learned that is that learning a new way to walk, I thought it'd be easier with modern technology. When I'm sitting in a hospital bed, I'm looking at all these cool looking robot parts and legs, and I'm thinking should be pretty easy.
Yeah, it's going to be an upgrade.
Right, right, yeah. I'm a $6 million man all of a sudden.
Right.
Well, now it'd be the $6 billion man, right? But no, it's like because of the increase in the money. But um, and it's the
I've
hardest thing I
actually
ever had to do.
compared, not to break your momentum. I've actually compared wearing my prep socket to dancing in a bear trap, and I was, to be quite honest, I was astounded at how uncomfortable I was.
Yeah,
And you know, you could say to me, Rick, you're a below the knee. Like imagine what I went through as an above the knee, you know? And I do recall, like yourself, there's that first walk, right, with the parallel bars. We're like, okay, we're gonna walk today, and putting my limb into that prep socket the very first time, and just the pain, how uncomfortable it was, the sweat that just immediately just went bonkers, and
yeah,
thinking, I'm gonna walk in this? Like how?
yeah. No, I
How
was
am
pin
what?
socket first, and now I'm suction system.
Okay.
But it fits like a glove though now.
Yeah.
That's like I said, it's a process. It took me working, communicating. Hey, this doesn't feel right. With my prosthetist at the Hanger Clinic. Props to him, but this doesn't feel right. But the suction system makes it feel like it's almost part of you, almost like a natural leg, almost. But see, I have what they call claudication. So in my femoral artery, I have a calcified blockage of when I had my episode of the DVTs and the four failed surgeries, and then the below the knee amputation,
Yeah,
and then
let's
the
walk
above.
through that real quick, because I want to share with the audience what actually led to your amputation. So kind of start at the beginning, and give us the highlights as far as what were the dominoes that kind of fell that got you there.
The first domino that fell was a simple, quiet, sunny, beautiful fall, autumn day here, and I was at a friend's house, and we were watching a college football game. And I got up from the couch, and I had a pain that was emanating from behind my knee. I initially thought it would go away, you know, that it may just be something, this too shall pass, so to speak. And so that was my mindset. But that night, I tried to go to the restroom, and I had to hop to the restroom. So I knew something was really, really wrong. I went. Then the next dominoes were getting misdiagnosed by two local physicians, and then ultimately, and so I was walking around basically with a blood clot behind my knee.
Okay.
I walked around and got misdiagnosed twice for most of 2 weeks. And I know they say blood clots travel to the heart and the head. I know they did it for my brother. God rest his soul, you know, he had a stroke and passed away in 2020 of a massive heart attack. But anyway,
Sorry to hear that.
that's all right. But so, you know, it's it was a blood clot and then DVTs. I remember the surgeon saying I had a severe and unique arterial event that was taking place in my leg. But it was an ER nurse that I went into. So I walked in November. I remember it was November. It was November. I finally said, I got to go to the ER. I couldn't walk from where I'm sitting right now to where I switched the light on earlier or switched the light off earlier. I couldn't walk that far without being in massive pain. And so I knew something was wrong. So the ER examined me, or the ER nurse examined me, and she felt the warmth of behind my leg, and she looked up to me and said, "Mr. Watson, you got a blood clot." And I'm thinking, okay, well, easy enough. They can apply me with these clot busters, and I'll be on my way, but not so fast. They did a angiogram, so they went into one leg, went underneath my belly button, and did try to shoot clot busters down to the leg, but they weren't working. So they transferred me from the local hospital here to one in Pittsburgh, 28 miles up the road. Great medical city, great medical facilities and hospitals, and great doctors and surgeons. So I got transferred there. I underwent 4 surgeries, a filleting of the bottom part of my leg where they opened it up and put a wound vac on. And then they also tried to heal I got an infection. So they tried to, it was blood clot, then infection. So they tried to heal the wound from inside out, and that wasn't working. So it was really hell on earth, to be honest with you. I was tested, Rick, like I've never been tested before. I was tested like I've never been tested before, and so those are the dominoes. And, the 4 failed surgeries, and then I was a below the knee amputee for a little while, and I had a fall while rehabbing.
Mm.
I fell out of my wheelchair. The brakes weren't on. I slid down it, and my lower limb crushed the floor. Back to the hospital. Above the knee amputee is the final thing.
Yeah.
So that's what
So
I am.
given those series of dominoes, those series of events, setbacks, constantly revisiting what I would think would be the why is this happening? Why? Um, when you keep getting punched that way, what would you say would be the thing that kept you focused and kept you in a space of, I've got to keep going. I've got to find a path to becoming whole again. Would you say it was a person, place, or thing? I mean, what was it that sort of gave you that North Star in your life?
There's several. It wasn't one specific thing. To start off, I had to dig deep down inside and say, I want to get through this, and I found reasons to want to continue to get through what I was going through, and learn what was about to be a new way of life for me. And my son was a reason. Family, friends. If not for any of them, who knows? I might not even be here, because they were critical in keeping me uplifted, keeping me, providing some normalcy into my life, somewhat, for what was going on, and my faith. I got into scripture a lot from the Bible, uh, lyrics from songs that I used to write down in a book that were important to me. Um, music. I didn't want to, the finer things and the good things in life. For me, I was 49 going on 50. I felt I still have, at that time, many years to live and many things to do, many things to see. And that's what kept me going.
What would you say to someone who's, either facing an amputation or, had just had that procedure done and you knew that they did not have a support system? What would you say to them?
If they did not have a support system, I would reach out to them and say, "Hey, I'll be your support system. Here's my name. Here's my phone number. How could I help you?"
Yeah.
That's one thing I would do. I won't forget the year after I lost my leg. I shared with, I had great nurses and great doctors, and I, after my amputation, I said, "Hey, next time you see me, I'm going to be walking up in this hospital to thank you for saving my life and helped me to be mobile and ambulatory and be able to walk again." So I went back, and it was one of the greatest days you'd ever witness. There were tears, there were hugs, because they got to see the fruits of their labor from a former patient. And it was just a beautiful day and a beautiful thing. But at that time, there was an African American lady, a black lady, um, who overheard me sharing my story and sharing my gratitude for the blessings of for them nurses and the staff saving my life and giving me a new life. But she overheard me and she said, "Sir, I couldn't help but overhear what you said and what you were saying to them." She goes, "My son, he's down in a room right now, and he's facing amputation. Would you come talk to him?" I said, "Certainly, certainly, I'll talk to him." Went down the end of the hall, went in the room. We introduced ourselves. He's still a friend of mine. He's in my contacts list. We still talk every now and again. Lives in Pittsburgh. He's doing well. But at the time, we talked. I shared anything I could about my experience with him. Um, that if I can do it, he could too.
Yeah.
And we prayed, and it was just a beautiful moment. It's a
And I've
beautiful
had I've
moment.
had similar experiences, and the place I usually go to in my mind when I do share that type of energy, with people, um, it tends to get me in this headspace of, well, a lot of this makes sense now. Because if I ever questioned it before and I ever thought, well, why is this happening? Or how am I going to make something of myself in this particular circumstance? When I do have those moments of connection, when I'm messaged by people who are touched by an episode that we've done, or maybe they're moved by something that I've said or that I've written, or that's when I have that sort of validation of, well, yeah, this is part of my purpose. This is part of making this very, very tragic thing, this difficult thing, into something that's good for the world and the people around me. And that, I think, is really kind of like when the magic happens, is when you know that all of your pain, all of your struggle has somehow cultivated goodness and kindness. And I think that's why I remain so committed to this community. And you were mentioning, how you had spoke, to your care team after your surgery. And I'm a I'm a kidney transplant survivor of almost 10 years now, and I was in dialysis for 18 months, and I got to know most of the techs on the floor. I mean, when you're going to a clinic 3 days a 3 days a week.
You're on first name basis with everybody.
Oh
They're like
gosh,
family.
yeah,
Yeah,
for 18 months. I mean, you
yeah,
literally are at that point. You're swapping recipes. I know what their kids' names are.
yeah.
I know exactly what part of the country they're from.
Hmm.
Um, I even know when this tech is having an argument with her boyfriend, and I mean it's amazing how intimate all of that becomes between patient and caregiver. And like yourself, you know um, after I'd received a live donor after 18 months, and it was a complete transformation from who I was, being very, very sick, end stage renal failure, to sort of walking into this place, co- completely free of this disease at this point. Um, it was a really, really golden moment in my life to visit with these people that had cared for me in the way that they had. And it was interesting because having that exchange, taking pictures, sharing stories, and everyone, oh, you look so good, and this and that, and all that stuff. But then sort of having this tremendous amount of sadness because, at a dialysis clinic, everyone's in a chair, everyone's going through their treatment, everyone is still there. And that was hard for me to digest because how could you not feel some survivor guilt that I was moving on? And I was in treatment for so long that I actually saw, a handful of people, pass, during my treatment cycle, which was, a year and a half. So I even saw, the ultimate price of being in that situation. But looking at those folks and saying, okay, I'm leaving. It was kind of, I almost thought of it like how like an inmate feels when they finally leave prison and they look over their shoulder and all their friends who are incarcerated are still there,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're kind of like, okay, now I got to go live my life, and all these poor bastards are still here. um that's kind of the emotional set that I had gone through, and it took me a long time to just really process that and really understand that it was just my path and it was my time to move on. It was my time to re-enter, society, re-enter work, re-enter, having normal relationships again, and not having people be so worried about me all the time. Um, so yeah, I'm glad that you very much appreciate that, you know, um, and you see that as very valuable in the experience because let's face it, there's a lot of good that can come from that experience, and it does reset you. It's sort of a recalibration, right, of your life and what you want to do and what you want to be and how you want to be seen by the people that you care about. So, kudos to you for living in that space, not just talking about it, but actually being a doer. Um, and what would you say is, for yourself anyway? What are the things that you would like to do, but you just haven't had time to do yet? Like, what's on the bucket list in terms of the rest of your life?
Very good question. Um, well, I would like to see my son. He's going to be 25. He's a young man. I would like to see him blossom into a good man and either finish his duty at the Marine Corps or stay in the Marine Corps for the rest of his life. there's places I want to go that I haven't seen yet. And I've been to a lot of places. I've talked about the full circle thing. I didn't talk about the middle, which is when I was in the corporate sales and marketing
Yeah.
space and world. And
And you were very much a corporate climber. You were one of those guys, an overachiever. You were someone
yeah,
that was up for the task.
yeah,
And, it was, I mean, what's it about? I'm been there myself.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
success, it's money, it's,
Well,
I got to get the stuff. I need the
well,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, back in the day, in 1984, a teacher made like 30K a year.
Yeah.
And I couldn't support if I lived maybe here in West Virginia or Kentucky or Tennessee or states like that where the housing markets are a little bit, you can afford a house pretty much. But yeah, I, yeah, it's so I'm losing my mind, Rick.
No, you're
Losing my
not.
mind. Yeah, I am. But yeah, the corporate space. So, I got in the grocery business and went up to different. I worked for a food broker for 11 years, and they did category management. That's where I learned distribution, sales, and marketing of brands, gross profit margins, all of these different things. So I started off with Dixie, the grocery chain, stocking cans on shelves, to where, to height of my career, I was calling on buyers of grocery chains. But that full circle moment comes back to where, but now it started off special needs, coaching, teaching. Right now, special needs, coaching, and teaching. I've interfaced with, you know, guys with hooks on their hands, people that were nonverbal in their wheelchairs, nonverbal and non-physical. When I student taught in college, um, I think this was meant to be because funny things happen. All right, so but disabled people have been when I was in elementary school. I'll never forget. I got a call one weekend. It was from my buddy Gary's mother. I was in fourth, fifth grade, and she said, she talked to my mom. My mom came to me and said, "Your buddy Gary's been paralyzed. He has no function from the waist down, and he would like you to come up and spend the weekend at the house with him." I'm like, wow. It's like, okay, okay. So that experience shaped me and impacted me. And then Robin worked for my dad. He had an accident in a steel mill, ended up having a hook on his hand. He used to come to the house. First time I ever seen a guy with a hook on his hand outside of pirate movies. But they're people just like us. Just because they lose a limb doesn't define them and doesn't make them a misfit or less than or such. But then fast forward, there was Robin, and there was the gentleman in the wheelchair, and then there was Gary when I was in elementary school. But when I was in the corporate sales world, I became friends with an above the knee amputee. This was when I was living two lives. I had two masks. I was wearing a mask. People wear masks. What did Shakespeare say? All the world's a stage. We each
Yeah.
must play a part.
It's very true.
And so I was living the double life, the corporate guy flying to Atlanta and San Diego and all of that, and quarterly bonuses, company cars. It was great, a great life. But I also had dancing through my veins, cocaine, all kinds of other things. And it's not a way to live your life, but to be over to overcome addiction and amputation. They both brought me to my knees. They both, had a significant impact on me for sure. They both tested me and challenged me like I've never been challenged before.
I mean, it
Um,
seems to me that you possess a skill set in that you possess a tremendous amount of empathy. And being able-bodied and sort of either being fascinated or gravitating or really seeking an understanding of what someone in a wheelchair or someone, with a hook, for a hand was going through, and to be able to offer yourself in that regard and let that be part of your life experience says a lot about who you are at your core. And because I believe what you're saying in terms of wearing the mask, very often we go through different parts of our lives, and we represent different things to different groups of people. And it's not uncommon for someone to have a certain type of professional life. This is the armor, the mask. These are the things that they equip themselves with to be able to go out to battle, so to speak, and to do those things, to corporate climb, to earn, to become an earner, to become driven and focused on the betterment of your life, your finances, your family's experience. But yes, eventually there's a portion of that life experience, whether that is rooted in addictions, whether that is rooted in some kind of medical or physical setback. Those are the things that remind us that we're human, and not everything is going to go our way. So I certainly believe that you're a true testament to someone that has sort of taken that on. And yes, there are those reflective moments of, man, that was hard. Wow, that was hard. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get through that part. But somehow, here we are. And I think we're better because of it. And our lens is a lot more in focus than maybe it was, when we were running around partying and doing all the things that, we probably wouldn't do now.
I like to say, what was the '80s or it was the '90s? And
Yeah.
sometimes I jokingly say, when people ask what happened to me, I say, well, I kept going the wrong direction with my left foot, so God took it away from me.
Mm.
There's a little bit of truth to that. Because
No, that's a really powerful
it's
quote. That's a really good way of putting it. My left
but
foot kept going in
there's
the wrong
some truth to that
direction
because
until they took
because
it
I
away from
was
me.
because
Yeah.
before it was all about me, how much money I can make,
Yeah.
you know, titles, uh, that don't mean shit. In
Yeah,
the
you're
grand
right.
scheme of things, none of that means shit. It doesn't.
Yep.
What's the quote I just read? What I leave behind. It's by this Greek guy, Greek Pericles. What I leave behind is not going to be etched in some stone mountain, but what I leave behind is going to be woven into the lives of others. So why not help others? And that's, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I've dealt with a man in a wheelchair, and I've dealt with a corporate buyer. I've been blessed to be able to have a gift, I guess, that connects some way, somehow with people. Um, I think I just try to be my true and authentic self. I don't hide behind my imperfections
No.
or the things that, like I said, try to take me down. I was falling down, but I wasn't destroyed. Um,
You're the real deal, man.
no, and I'm not the real deal.
But
I want to live
anytime I've
life.
ever had an
Yes,
interaction with you, anytime I've ever had an exchange with you where we're whatever we're talking about, and it's not all about amputees. It might just be something silly or just kind of exchange of ideas. Um, there's no bullshit with you, which I appreciate, and
thank you, Rick.
I think that you're one of those people that yeah, your life has taught you that it's time to let go of the mask, and it's just time to be me
Yeah,
and live well and live in an authentic space as a person. And when I consider who my heroes are, and I know we've spoken about this, for me, it's the everyday people. It's the people around me in my community. It might be the amputee like yourself that I talk to on a regular basis. It might be like someone like Brian, my producer, um, who might be facing some challenges, and we relate on that. Um, it might be, the guy at the grocery store that knows my name somehow, um, and he always greets me when I come in. Uh, those are my heroes, and I'm not trying to discount, the celebrity status and all the things that people do to become elevated in their craft and their space. But for me, grabbing energy from everyday people, it's what fuels my purpose and my creativity. And I'm very much an observer. I'm painfully introverted, and I spend a lot of time just sort of spectating. And these are the things that I draw in terms of conclusions about my observations of people. And we're an interesting bunch, us people in the limb loss community. We really are.
We are. We're all people who want to thrive, and we strive to thrive. Most of us, I mean, we have a choice. We
That
can
sounds like
succumb to
marketing right there. Strive to
but
thrive.
then we do have a choice. We can succumb to the darkness. We can succumb to the darkness and give up or whatever, or you could, like I said before, get up, pull your pants up, dust yourself off, put your boots on, get up. And I know at the time, one time I was in the hospital, I said to myself, I'm going to be the best damn amputee anybody's ever seen. I had that mindset. Um, but yeah, it's a funny planet, Rick. It's a funny planet. But like I said, life takes us in different directions. I didn't ever expect that this would happen to me.
Sure.
I never thought the name or the title disabled or even partially disabled would be applied to my name. Maybe that was pride and vanity and all that, but like I don't hide my imperfections. We can't. I don't. You know what kintsugi is? Kintsugi. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Kintsugi. It's Japanese for golden rejoining. And what it is, it's the process where they take pottery and ceramics that have been cracked and they put a powdered gold or silver, almost like glue like substance, and they put them together again.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see
You can
this
see the
this item,
scars.
the scars, but they're not hiding
Yeah.
behind the scars or the items, the ceramics, the bowls, amputees. We don't hide. We we don't hide behind the scars. I will shout on the rooftop about all my imperfections. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So um, you know, I'm a human being that's lived a full life that I've learned through falling down, through mistakes, through setbacks. We're all flawed human beings, including myself. However, the older you get, it's amazing. The older you get, obviously, the wiser you get. But there's a lot of truth to that because you look back, the perspective changes. Things that are important today weren't important then.
That's for sure.
Family's important today. Loving thy neighbor, contributing to humanity, doing God's work here is what I try to do. That's what I'm doing now. I'm doing Jesus. Jesus catered to the downtrodden, like I talked about, the misfits, those that were less than, prostitutes, people that were broken, bent. So, hey, if I can do half of what he did while I'm still here on this earth, then when I get to these pearly gates that they talk about and I've learned about throughout my life, the man will say, hey, well done, my faithful servant. And that's what I'm
Well,
hoping
Well, look at
hoping
that.
for.
Those are very wise words, very kind words, very heartfelt. I appreciate you coming in today and sharing,
It's been my honor and privilege, Rick.
oh, thank you.
You're a true inspiration. Like I said, I'm not trying to blow smoke, but you've showed what you still have lived. You still have done your thing. You still have taken the best part of you and turned the tragedy into, turned trauma and tragedy into triumph.
Oh, well,
And
that's very nice of you to say. And I appreciate it coming from you, and I appreciate that you see me that way. Like yourself, I am terribly imperfect. And the people that are closest to me would be like, really? They're talking about you? You moron?
but I know you interview like celebrities and athletes and all that, and I'm like, I'm none of those. But
Well, in my
you
book,
mentioned
it,
common, like the
yeah,
common, or the out of the 2.1 million people in the country that are amputees,
yeah,
I'm sure the majority of them, I'm thinking, are probably like me or you, or
yeah.
they're like me. Not, I mean, like
No,
me.
they're like you and me.
Yeah.
They're just taking it day by day, man. They're just trying to get through it. They're doing their best. They're falling
I'm a
down.
number three, Rick. I'm a number three on the 4 scale. I'm a number three, just so you know. So if I was a four, I'd be like, what's his name?
Hey,
Running the marathon with those blades on his leg.
listen, man. All I'm gonna say is that if you had a club, I want to be a member. That's all.
Oh, thank you. I
Okay.
want to be a member of your club, brother.
You know. So much love to you. This is Mr.
Love
Mark.
back.
This is Mr. Mark Watson right here. Please check him out. He's out there. He's in the groups. He's chatting around. He's on social media. He's a good dude, man, and he's solid, and he's the kind of amputee we all want to aspire to be. And again, Mark, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here today. I wish you a fantastic weekend. Everyone, my name is Rick Bontkowski. This is the Amp'd Up to 11 podcast, and I want to wish everyone health and happiness, and we'll see you next time.